So Fred, you were the author of our latest ISA briefing note about the implications of China's reopening. When we published the ISA Outlook 2023 in early December, we wrote that we didn't know when China would reopen. And little did we know that it was reopening very quickly. Just a couple of weeks later, it was clear that it was going to be on a path to fully reopening. So things have changed pretty quickly. You've been tracking China's reopening both from a data perspective and you've been living it because you're based in Shanghai. So can you tell me, what is it like in China on the ground, and how has it changed?
Yeah. Well, yeah, since December last year, I've been seeing increasing economic activities across China. People started to travel and restaurants reopened. Nowadays, if you go to a popular restaurant during peak hours, you probably need to wait for, half an hour or more than that to be seated. So we also look at public data. By mid-February, the subway passengers volume and road congestion index in the 4 Tier 1 cities in China had slightly surpassed the average levels in 2019. Nowadays, in China, if you go around, you don't need to wear any masks, except in public transportation, which is still mandatory, right? But in shopping malls, you don't need to, if you don't want to. So I also often travel between Shanghai, where I work, and Shenzhen, where my family is. In the past 3 years, flight tickets were very cheap, and flight occupancy was quite low, even below 50% in some cases. But in this year, the ticket price have more than doubled since the Chinese New Year, and it's not rare to see a full flight. So generally speaking, I think life in China has come back to normal. For foreigners coming to China, you still need to take the PCR test within 48 hours before your flight. But once you arrive in China, you will find there are no more restrictions. So welcome to China in this year.
And so that return to normalcy, what is that translating into in terms of the economic performance? What are you seeing in the economic numbers? And what does that mean for real estate in China?
Yeah, we have seen some improvements in high frequency data. For instance, of official manufacturing PMI and alarm manufacturing PMI both returned to about 50 in January this year, suggesting the economy is expanding. Data related to retail sales, exports, and industrial outputs are still unavailable. They will be released in March, but by then we will have a full picture of the economy. I have confidence that the numbers probably should be better than December. In terms of the housing market, real estate market, we have started to see more positive news coming out. In January, 36 among the 70 cities tracked by the Chinese National Bureau of Statistics experienced increases in for-sale residential prices on a quarterly basis. In comparison, in last year, December, the number was only 15. So from 15 to 36, it is a big improvement. Anecdotally, I have seen a few news reports talking about increasing volume of visitors to for sale residential projects in many major cities in China, such as Shanghai, Beijing, Shenzhen, and Chengdu. So yeah, I think the residential market is bottoming out now. Even though the speed is still the momentum is still relatively weak. Yeah.
So if you go beyond China and look at the broader Asia Pacific region, you and your colleagues are clearly considering what are the broader implications for the Asia Pac region of China's reopening. What do you think the most important factors to be watching are in that recovery for the region?
We think the main impacts of China's reopening on Asia Pacific region is on the hospitality industry. Chinese visitors historically have been a significant source of hotel demand and visitor spending in major Asia Pacific markets, and they were almost completely absent in part of 2021 and 2022. So we expect to see some pent-up demand for overseas travel from China in this year. which is likely to support a recovery in Asia-Pacific hotel and tourism-oriented retail sectors.
And if we zoom out to the global level, in the briefing, you set up a kind of two opposing factors for what this could mean for global inflation. Because on the one hand, the world's second largest economy returning to a stronger growth, more demand, that could be incrementally higher, lead to higher inflation, which could mean that central banks globally can't cut rates, can't pivot as soon as they otherwise would. But of course, fewer start-stop interruptions to supply chains, global production and transportation, because China is so important in supply chains, that's got to be more of a disinflationary force. So the impact for inflation is probably ambiguous, but if you were to kind of choose which one of those factors you think will win out, which do you think it would be? Is the China recovery going to be so strong that it'll drive much higher global inflation, or is it maybe not so strong to really drive that much inflation?
I think people should not over concerned about the inflationary pressure because of China's reopening. Unlike the V-shaped recovery we experienced in 2021 in China, the rebound this time is likely to be gradual and mild. This is mainly because the balance sheets of Chinese businesses and households deteriorated a lot due to the zero COVID policy. Now it could take some time to repair the balance sheets. In addition, the for-sale residential sector historically was the main driver for the economy. This sector remains weak despite signs of bottoming. So we don't expect it to strongly rebound this year. So putting all the two factors together, we actually don't think the recovery this time will be putting a large pressure on the global inflation.
Well, thanks, Fred. We'll see how that plays out. We'll be watching that closely. Thanks for joining me today and talking about your recent ISA briefing note. I really look forward to at some point in the near future getting that PCR test and getting on a plane and seeing you and the team again. And for those who are watching this video, if you want to read this report, you can go to lasalle.com/insights and read Fred's report, as well as sign up for future ISA briefing notes. So thanks, Fred.
Thanks, and welcome to China.